success of the teams. Because if you're looking at the Suns, it really is Devin Booker, and solely Devin Booker. And the fact that, basically one player can win 25 games against other teams in the NBA is something else. Like, yeah, wow, they won 25 games. Like, that's bad. But it's basically on one man's shoulders. And if you look at the Wizards, Bradley Beal is overshadowed by John Wall. Nothing against Bradley Beal. He's a good player. But I don't think he's on the same tier as Devin Booker. I think Booker, night in and night out, can put up 25-plus. And sometimes 65-plus. Like, he's a scorer by any means. Like, anything you need, he can provide.
On the offense.
Exactly. I mean, defensively, I don't think he struggles necessarily, but he's not as good as Beal. But I'd still rather have Booker. And I think, the Suns, they're an interesting team. If you get more people around Booker, they really could be something. And I don't think that's something that you necessarily would get from having a guy like Bradley Beal. It's just, I don't see them on the same playing field, per se.
All right. Adam keeps scrolling down the page. I don't know how to introduce this. Okay, let's see. Anthony Davis or DeMarcus Cousins? Let me start this off. This one is an older one. I would rather have Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis, younger. I think that, in terms of, he may not be able to shoot the three as well, but he can do a lot more. And I think that maybe this is just me talking after, Boogie's moves to the Warriors. But Anthony Davis, for me, it can do a lot more defensively and also more offensively, too. Like, he has a mid-range and he can body inside, which is something that I really like in a big man. I don't like, when they'll stretch out to the three, which Boogie tends to do, but he's still a textbook center. But this is also, here's the problem. This is also comparing two different positions. This is comparing a power forward and a center. So in terms of power forwards, yeah, I would take Anthony Davis over anybody. But, Boogie's also the best center in the league. So this one, I don't know. What do you have to say on this? Because, this is two different positions.
I don't think it's too different. Honestly, I think Anthony Davis, by trade, is a power forward, but for the Pelicans, he plays like pretty much all five positions. He really did it all for them.
Drew Holiday, you can't.
Okay, but this is a guy that you can pretty much put anywhere, and he'll thrive. It's a guard in a big man's body. He's talented everywhere on the floor. We talked about Boogie stretching from the perimeter. Boogie is a three-point shooter, but Anthony Davis also can do that. Not necessarily as well as Boogie, but he still has that range. Killer mid-range, unbelievable post-game, defense off the charts. This is a guy who's pretty much an MVP candidate year in, year out. I don't know, he hasn't won it yet, but in my opinion, in the foreseeable future, he gets one. Cousins is in the latter end of his career, so I would much rather have Anthony Davis than DeMarcus Cousins. I think Cousins is a dominant big man, but I don't think he's Anthony Davis. I'm going to take the next question here. I'm going to give it to you, but I'm going to ask it.
Okay.
We're talking about two of the greatest franchises in NBA history. You're talking about the Boston Celtics, who have the most titles as an NBA franchise.
As of today.
And the Los Angeles Lakers, who have the most losses in the NBA Finals of an NBA franchise in history of today.
That I did not know.
That is true. So, who do you think... Well, who would you rather have? The all-time Celtics team? You're talking Bird. You're talking Parrish. You're talking about everybody. Bill Walton. Throw JoJo White in there. Kyrie, if you're feeling generous. Kevin Garnett. Paul Pierce. Rajon Rondo.
Mm-hmm.
The entire all-time Celtics versus the all-time Lakers. Kobe, Magic, Shaq, Kareem, James Worthy, Jerry West, Wilt Chamberlain. Head-to-head... Who would you rather have?
Lake Show. I think it's the Lakers, dude. You're looking at Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, arguably the best center to ever play in the NBA. Maybe behind Shaquille O'Neal. Wilt's in the discussion. But then you also have Kobe Bryant, Magic Johnson, and Shaquille O'Neal also. Is it safe to say that if you have Shaquille O'Neal and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, you have the best front court ever?
Yeah.
Exactly. Magic Johnson played every position, literally. He started
and
as
arguably arguably the greatest point guard in NBA history. Too.
right. I mean, he started as center. Fun fact: in one of the NBA Finals games that Magic Johnson was a part of, he started as center for the Lakers. So he literally was so versatile. They put a 6'9" point guard to jump ball. And then Kobe Bryant, one of the greatest scorers to ever touch a basketball.
Yeah.
And you can add LeBron to that soon. He hasn't played yet for the Lakers, but once LeBron's career is done, he's going to be on the all-time Lakers. How can you leave a guy like LeBron James out of the equation? Who would you rather have? I think I know who you're gonna pick.
What?
Lakers.
Between the Lakers and the Celtics?
Yeah.
Lakers, easy.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest here. If you're looking at the Lakers, it's probably one of the most impressive teams you could ever put together. It's Magic Johnson, arguably the greatest point guard of all time. Kobe Bryant, one of the best shooting guards of all time. James Worthy, a guy that did it night in and night out for the Showtime Lakers. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, arguably one of the best centers of all time. Shaq, another one. Will Chamberlain, the only guy ever in NBA history to score 100 points in a game. Elgin Baylor, extremely talented. Jerry West, the logo of the f***ing league. It's all around an unbelievably built team. And a franchise that had a lot of success. The Celtics, they're great. Bill Russell, sensational. 11 NBA championships, that's unheard of. But it's still not the Lakers. I take the Lakers. All right, we're going to throw this back a little bit. Steph Curry as MVP or MVP Derrick Rose?
Who would I rather have?
Yeah, and this is going to be our last question because we're running out of time here. So, you've got MVP Curry, set his record. He's broken it since, but for most threes in a season, personal and professional record. And then Derrick Rose, who was probably the most athletic man in the league for that season. He did crazy things.
The youngest one, too.
Youngest MVP. So, who would you rather have, MVP Curry or MVP Rose?
I'll let you start this one off. To be honest, I'm still a little undecided. I want to hear what you have to say.
I would say MVP Rose. And I'm not a Warriors fan, but I root for them. And the stuff that Steph Curry can do is unheard of. He's ridiculous. His three-pointer is the best in NBA history. You can say that confidently. And he's talented. There's pretty much nothing that Steph Curry can't do.
Defense.
And he's up there in steals, too. He's up there at the top of the leaderboards every year in steals. He's undersized, but he's still talented. And even then, I'm picking Rose. Because Derrick Rose, in his prime, when he was good, he was the best.
He showed so much more offensively, I think.
But it's beyond that, too. There's an athleticism that's unmatched from Derrick Rose. This is a guy who could basically fly from one end of the floor to the other. Literally and physically. Like, he could jump for days, but he was quick as, like, I don't even know. He was unbelievable. And the acrobatics he could finish with in the air. And he could still shoot, too. This is not a guy he was not a one-dimensional player. He could dish, he could shoot, he could drive. He was, for me, one of the best we saw in that era. And it's really a huge bummer what's happened since. But if I'm choosing between the seasons of MVP Curry and MVP Rose, Derrick Rose is my guy.
I think I agree with you. And I think that maybe he wasn't the greatest at defense, but I think that, like, I've said this before, like, if you have, like, a big body, or, like, if you're athletic, then you don't have to teach yourself to play defense. Like, I think if you're athletic, like Derrick Rose was, you could adaptively play defense against whoever you're playing, because this guy was, like you said, one of the most athletic players we've ever seen.
Yeah.
So I think that he could, like I said, adapt to whoever he's playing and play defense, and like you said, like driving to the rim, shooting. I really like the way you said it, a one-dimensional player. Like, he's not a one-dimensional player. He was a jack of all trades, basically. And Curry, I'm not a fan, but yes, he has talent. He can shoot the ball like crazy. He can drive here and there. It's really hard for me to come up with compliments for someone that I deeply hate to see play against LeBron James, but I mean, you gotta hand it to him. But I am taking Derrick Rose.
All right, that's gonna wrap it up for us. Thanks for listening to this episode of Offer on the Table. Once again, I'm Adam. With me is
John.
So thanks for listening. Remember to hit us up on Twitter with podcast ideas, or if you had a personal feeling about any of these Would You Rathers, let us know. Our Twitter handle is
@OfferTable. And make sure to tune in until next week's podcast, because we'll be back. All right, peace.